Hello, wild ones, and welcome back to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh, the podcast all about transmutation for your liberation. And today we are going to get raw and real on the art of conscious and therapeutic kink. I am buzzing to bring this here. It is something that I work with quite often, and I really love in the element of erotic power. And I'm bringing it to you today from the layer and lens of therapeutic kink. So if you are new to the kink world and not really sure about conscious kink and what that is in terms of sexuality, we are going to be diving into a little bit of it, but not the basic 101. So it's understandable if this topic of conversation is a bit edgy and it is a bit taboo. And that is why I'm bringing it to you, because I love everything that is edgy and taboo. And I feel like this is a part of the kink space that is not spoken about enough. And it can be the most healing reclamation of your sexuality and your power when you dive into it consciously. And I want to talk about it and kind of side note that it's not a replacement for therapy, but it can be very therapeutic for working on these little intricate pieces and parts of yourself, especially in the realms of your shame and your sexuality, sensuality, and reclaiming these parts of yourself that were violated and shut down. Now, I will probably go on a million side quests today because there's so many parts and pieces I want to kind of cram into this podcast, but I want to make it powerful, listenable, so you can take something away and get something from it. So I've just come back from the Embodied Eros Festival in Western Australia, Perth, a few weeks ago. So on the back end of this, I actually ran 2 workshops that were conscious kink related. One of them was dirty talk and all about unlocking the throat. And we called it deep throat, of course. It is, I believe, the foundation on any kink space, because we're not talking about one layer and lens. We're talking about all layer and lenses. And I dived into, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of these workshops so you could get a feel for them, because they were delicious and I loved them so much. And I had a lot of great feedback. The Dirty Talk workshop was really cool because, I believe that every person I've ever worked with in the field of somatic therapy has a blocked throat. This is a big piece and part that shows up as pain in the throat, closing down of the throat, tightness in the throat, feeling like they can't speak. And it is one of the key pieces that we need to unlock, especially delving into edgier realms of kink, because the foundation of kink is communication, and conscious communication, really solidifying what you want, what you desire, your past traumas, your anything that could be implemented in a scene. And they call kink scenes, just in case you don't know and not are aware of it. So we delved into really unlocking that, and then we moved through how to claim these dark pieces of self. And I love this shit. I am a dirty talk slut. Like, I love getting into like the filth of it. And I moved through different layers. Obviously, there is, the praise kink that is quite common now or known about a lot in a lot of spaces. And I moved into the more degradation and humiliation and relational dynamic of it as well, and how they all affect you energetically and somatically. So it was really in depth, but I only had an hour and a half to guide these people through these sessions. But that was really yum. And the other one I did was sacred sadism. So really getting in touch with our sadists, our masochists, and these like power dynamics within ourselves, and allowing them to be witnessed and revered and honored. And yeah, I really want to share that when we're delving into the realm of kink, and I know there's a lot of we think we know, and I was even that way when I started learning about kink. I really looked at it like it was about like abusing each other and causing pain and all of this like really edgy thing. But I really want to say that it is really truly a power exchange as a sacred act and a sacred dance between people, and using trust as erotic devotion. Now, it sounds edgy and it sounds really taboo, but I feel like I'm going to share with you how I first got into this field of work, because I kind of went into it sideways. I'm going to share my kink journey with you. We're going to go on a journey. I'm going to share with you my kink journey, my experience of it. I am going to then share how we use that, because one of the biggest questions I got asked after these workshops and after people got a feel for what it was like to claim their desires, or claim the person that wants to take and surrender and be in the art of allowing. And we use the wheel of consent for this. If you don't know, it's a really awesome framework that is used in these spaces to really understand the energetic essence of all of these sorts of power dynamics, and moving into like that sub and that dom. And I check it out. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. I think you will be it blew my mind when I learned about it. And I moved through this in a very somatic way too. So actually getting you to feel into like who gives, who takes, who receives, and how it's actually like this beautiful like play and dance of allowing and receiving, and yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, before I get too sidetracked, I'm going to move into how we can use this to actually move through these core wounds and pieces of self when we are diving into this from a therapeutic lens. Because yeah, lots of people ask me, and I actually moved through a huge kink scene on the Saturday night that I was there. And I'm actually going to share that. I'm going to get so intimate with you today and share this really intimate, powerful experience, because I share things best when I share my learned, lived, embodied experience. So I will share that scene with you, what I moved through and how I moved through it. And then I'm hoping that threads together the question of like, what is therapeutic kink? What is conscious kink? And how can I use it to actually liberate myself and these pieces and parts of myself? So, hang on to your knickers. We're going in today, and I'm going to share some things that I keep very personal to myself. So you're getting a real feel for everything that I am. No holes barred. Is that it? No bars hold, or something like that anyway. So let's begin on my kink journey. So I would say that I started exploring. I actually came into the field of kink specifically for therapeutic kink. So when I've shared this journey with you before, when I started delving into my sexual healing and my trauma healing from my childhood, a huge piece for me was reclaiming parts and pieces of myself that I felt were broken from sexual abuse, like childhood sexual abuse, molestation, and all of these like icky, insidious things that happened to me as growing up. And when I started delving into my body, and when I started to grasp that I was numb and I started getting into all my jade eggs and my yoni eggs, and really started to resensitize myself and start to bring sensational experience back into my pleasure and my orgasm, I learnt that obviously therapeutic kink was available and it was there. And it's not talked about enough. And I want to talk about it. So I am. Um, when I delved into it, I did a lot of research on it, and it's hard to find practitioners in this field. And I didn't really delve too much into it physically. It was all just theories and bases and reading and kind of being a sponge for everything. Uh, I want to share that one of the huge pieces I find with most people who have experienced violations or childhood sexual assault actually move through I would say, a collapse in their internal power structures. So for me personally, I had a fear of my power, and orgasms are powerful. Pleasure is powerful. Sensation is powerful. Opening your body up and receiving is powerful. It is a beautiful devotional act, and it really does crack me right open each and every time now. But there is this element I find, not just with me, but with all of the people that I work with and know, and from firsthand accounts, that there is this belief sitting underneath that power is inherently bad. So we protect it and hide it away mostly. So there's these weird structures within our body that feel like our power is taboo or bad, or somebody's going to take it and use it for themselves, or that power is bad because people have used their power against us to violate us and abuse us and to do these like horrific things to us. So I find that most people have this weird relationship with power, and not only power, but surrender. And surrendering is powerful, as I speak about, but actually opening up and receiving. And if you get into the kink world, you will really grasp and understand that usually the sub is the one that holds most of the power in these dynamics, which is really interesting because you wouldn't think that. You think when we talk about submissives, we actually think that they're just letting anything happen to them and they're just opening up and the power is in the dom. And that is really not the case. That is not true, especially moving into conscious kink realms where you sit, you conversate, you have this open communication, and then you delve into these beautiful spaces of co moving and yumminess. So I found that this was a big struggle for me. So I actually, and still to this day, like I'm not fully over it. I still find that this power dynamic rocks up in my system quite often. And I find for women, it is quite common that they sort of collapse in their power and don't really fully claim it because they're petrified of it and they're petrified of somebody taking it at the same time. So it becomes like this fragmented protection internal system that I find really implements our way we show up relationally, sexually, and intimately. And so when I started learning about that and learning about really claiming the art of my own power and sitting with that and moving through allowing and receiving and giving and being a service top and all of these wonderful things, I got very, very intrigued. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a pro dom because I really thought that would be so therapeutic for me as a childhood sexual abuse survivor to claim my power that I was absolutely terrified of. Of course, I did not go through with that, but if you have listened to my other episodes, you will know that I have had experience in this realm now. So that is kind of where I started in my journey. And, you know, I didn't get to really play in this field of kink for a long time. But because I was a relationship expert and moved deeply into relationship fields with couples, this was something that I really had to learn and integrate anyway. slowly, because I had to understand what it was like to play in this field softly and opening up this sort of erotic kink fantasy realm with a partner. And, you know, in long-term relationships and creating spark and desire and everything, again, this is a very core blueprint with opening up this whole new field of possibility, like opening up this whole new way of having sex and expanding each other and growing each other and like really stretching the edges. And it's so hot. So in my field of work, I have actually guided quite a few clients through the art of opening up and really delving into the dynamic of like kink. What do you want? What do you desire? I play quite a few games with couples and share them. It's called like the yes, may, no, yes, maybe no game. I also have that in a workshop that I did all around sacred sexuality and like reigniting that spark. And I really loved this workshop. I think it was called the art of conscious lovemaking. Did I say that? Yes. And I moved into, right, so what's the first step? You got to unlock your throat. You got to open. You got to talk about this thing. You've got to start sharing, because a lot of couples don't actually open up that doorway and have a safe space to talk about it in a non-judge, safe, shame-free. Because as we know, we do carry a lot of shame around our desires, our kinks, our wants, and we've been conditioned that way. So I believe leaning into this can be a really beautiful way to move through a lot of like shadow, erotic shadow pieces and dark spaces where we hold a lot of shame. And as you know, if we hold a lot of shame within the body around certain aspects and pieces, we will forever be trying to protect that shame or protect what the shame is covering and holding and project it outwards. So this is where we see a lot of, I believe, a lot of like more of this like insidious, inverted type sexual expression where it is quite like, you know, not like this beautiful conscious way of moving through sexuality. It's like a lot of repressed desires and a lot of repressed kinks and a lot of shame laid on top of that, spewed out into the world and kind of getting a bit gross. Let's be real. We can see it in the world. We see it all around us every day. And I think that this is kind of the veil that we start to see on top of this area. Don't get me wrong, like it's still there, it's still present. And, you know, to go into these fields and think that that's not a reality would just be stupid. But it's very real and it is very true. But also, that is not the full case of the picture of conscious kink and therapeutic kink specifically, right? Like, I believe that if we had a safe, beautiful place to express these more ickier, like darker textures of desire, we would see a lot less energy being pushed out into the world of that being expressed unhealthily, if that makes sense. So I'll give you a few more examples as we're moving along, but I wanted to share that, yeah, that was my sort of segue into conscious kink and therapeutic kink and what it means and how to move it into a beautiful like marriage and relationship and long-term relationship. And, you know, not all my clients are in marriage and long-term relationship. I have clients that are open and exploring and just flowing with their relational dynamic. And I am a hell yes to anything that liberates you. And I believe that that changes moment to moment. I believe that desire really leads us to move into a space where we can be fully expressed and share without shame and can really free our bodies and our minds and our emotions in ways that are truly profound. So as I kind of explored this field, I actually got to then, over the last couple of years, I've delved a little bit deeper into this area because it fascinates the fuck out of me. I love learning about my own erotic blueprint, how that changes. And there's a really cool quiz you can do on this if you haven't done it yet. It is Jaya's erotic blueprint. Now, I think she gives you this like full quiz. A long time ago when I did it, I learned that I was a psychological kink kind of girl. And yes, I am. And it's so interesting because, yeah, my whole work is based around like psychology and neuroscience and what makes humans humans. Like, I love humans. Like, I love the intricacy, the darkness, the depth, the everything. Like, I am just so intrigued and fascinated. It turns me on so much. So it makes so much sense that I was a psychological kink kind of girl and a bit of a shapeshifter. If you haven't done the quiz, you can find it. I think it's like JR something erotic blueprint. She was on Goop. I think that's where a lot of people have seen her. And she's became like a little bit more popular and in pop culture now. So you can do this quiz and you can find out actually what makes you tick, what kinks are really in align with you, what is there. And yeah, I learned a little bit about like my kinks, what I like, what I enjoy, what I don't. It was a big deep dive of self-exploration. And I really want to highlight that because I truly believe that conscious kink, a therapeutic kink, is a way to really know yourself and your erotic self and your sexual self in such a beautiful, deep way. It's like becoming so intimate and deep with who you are, what moves you, what triggers you, what spices you up, what turns you on. And I feel that people in this realm have done a lot more deep dive work than therapy work, to be honest. Because to be a very good dom, to be a very good sub, to be in this field where you're allowing somebody to come undone through your erotic and energy field, and it becomes this like co-space of erotic energy, you truly have to know yourself deep through, in and around. And I'm highlighting this as conscious kink work. So to show up in a space and be like, I like this, I like that, I have this sort of element within me that is edgy and raw, and I have this, and to lay that and splay that out on a table with somebody is hot. It is not only hot, but it is deep work. So again, I told you I'd be doing a lot of side quests on this because I get very passionate about it. And I think that it's such a profound methodology or profound experience that a lot of people haven't tasted and used yet for their own liberation and erotic reclamation and power. So as I delved into this and learning my sort of kinks, like I am still such a baby in this world. Like I am still learning about this. I'm still learning about the psychology of it and how we move into this beautiful space. It's called like subspace, where you actually like open up and let go and have these like well, for me personally, transpersonal experiences. It's kind of like being on psychedelic drugs. And we talk about, or I talk about, pain and pleasure being coexisting and parallel to each other all the time. And so it's no wonder that exploring this element and area of relating and kink work, that you are dancing and weaving between them both and having these experiences that are otherworldly, that are godly, that can crack you open to powerful experiences. And to me personally, I believe that, and this is different for everyone, different strokes for different folks, but for me personally, and we all have different reasons why we get into kink or these sorts of elements. I use it as a cathartic release. For me, it's not like a hypersexual experience. It's actually, I go into these experiences with catharticism and sensation in my mind. I am such a sensational person. Like sensation to me is eroticism. It's eros. And I love it. Like the things I will do to have sensational experience is insane. It's not too insane, I don't think. It's very normal. For me anyway, but for others maybe not so much. But that is my personal experience with this. So for others it might be different, and this is all coming through from my layer and lens. So the last couple of years I have been able to experience and play with these fields with friends who are very big in this field and this area. And I have leaned into reclaiming parts and pieces of myself through this work. So really getting in touch with like my dominance and my power, and reclaiming my boundaries, and tasting power, and knowing that it's not bad or wrong, but in the right hands it can be beautiful, right? And I think this is what I'm moving into with the therapeutic kink realm. So, and like, you know, I'm not out there going to, you guys know me, I'm not out there going to these massive like sex parties and orgies and amazing things. And, you know, I just dabble and play and experience and get what I need, and, you know, come back, move it through my body, alchemize it, and then, yeah, share it. So I have experienced a few things very much non-sexually, I will say, in spaces that are safe, very conscious, very therapeutic. They're like, bring me your pieces and parts here and let's move through it. So how does that all land for you guys? Are you still with me? Are you on this journey of exploring this experience today? Because honestly, it's a lot to take in. So, and I can actually, right now as I'm sitting here and like holding my room and speaking from her, I can feel how this can kind of blow you open a little bit, especially if you haven't had these experiences before and this is all very new to you. So when I have delved into learning about sort of dirty talk, learning about the psychological aspects and flavors of playing with people and moving into like psychological play, which again was my first flavor, and then moving into these spaces where I actually used it to claim my own power, to learn the art of surrender and opening up my body and receiving, asking for what I want. And I think this is going to be a segue to share my experience on how my scene went on Saturday at the Embodied Eros Festival. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. I'm raw dogging it. I'm going to share it. And yeah, it feels a little vulnerable for me to share this personal experience. But I feel like it's going to be the best way to show you, or for you to feel and grasp, how we can use therapeutic kink to move through kinks and desires in the body. Because when I tried to explain it to somebody, they just didn't get it. And I was on a huge sub drop the next day when I tried to share what it's like. And I think this is really important to side note as well, is this level of space holding and this level of energetic attunement is not for everyone. It is not for everyone, and everyone is not good at it. So I would not recommend just going into a, you know, kink space, not actually funneling to see if it's safe. And also, if you're looking at this for catharsis, for release, for actual somatic integration within the body, I highly recommend finding somebody who is trained in this field of work. So for me specifically, I am trained. I am a trained somatic therapist. I am trained in Tantra. I am trained in all of these fields of work to be able to weave them all together, to hold a space where we can go to the very ends and depths of your erotic desire and actually transmute it, actually move through it to the other space somatically in the body, where a lot of people aren't. a lot of people show up to these spaces and in these kink scenes and really are just like, oh, I'm just going to have this experience and it's fun. And that's fine. That's so fine. So fine. But, you know, they're coming from a more sexual lens, from a more turned on lens. And don't get me wrong, like I do get turned on in these spaces because I'm an existential kink kind of girl. Like I love all the all the things that we're not supposed to love in this life. And, you know, I really want to disclaimer it, because yeah, you really need to be able to be so in tune with somebody's nervous system and your nervous system. And it's not like a checklist of things. Like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to get this. When you show up for a somatic therapy session, people show up and you allow the body to talk to you and move through everything organically. And it's exactly the same when you weave that with this like conscious therapeutic kink aspect. So, yes, this can be a powerful space of reclamation for power, learning how to surrender, learning the art of whole body surrender and devotion and cracking open. Yes, it's powerful for sitting with like in the uncomfort, sitting in the comfort and weaving them together between the pain and the pleasure. And it really just builds your capacity as a human being, right? I always say that stagnation and comfort, it breeds disease. When we think about our bodies, we get so comfortable. And I think one of the best things that we can do for ourselves as humans is get uncomfortable, build our tolerance to get uncomfortable, to be so comfortable in the ache of the uncomfort that it actually stretches us open to become new people, to birth our way of being truly in this life. And I talk about this with people who really want to embody a new, I wouldn't say a new personality, but embody a new way of being, as in they really want to up level their lives. They really want to be better people. They really want to get ahead in life, change their living situation, whatever it may be, get healthier, just become better people and not let the drudge of their wounding or the people that they surround themselves with weigh them down and stay the same. Because when you're staying the same and you're not growing, you generally are breeding disease, like calcification in the body. I truly, truly believe that. And the number one thing to embodying a new way of being, to up level, is to fucking stretch, right? Is to start to be uncomfortable, start to be comfortable in the comfortable, to start stretching not just your body, but your emotional capacity, your mental capacity, your spiritual capacity. It really is like this multi-layered experience of cracking yourself open and stretching. And I think that this is what therapeutic kink does. It gives you a space to stretch and play and get curious into these spaces that would otherwise be hidden away. These erotic aspects of self that are condemned and shamed and like put in dark spaces for nobody to find. And then we wonder why we can't get turned on or have these wildly profound orgasmic states where we are having whole body orgasms and connecting to God. And I don't say that lightly, because holy, when you start to have these experiences, these whole body sensational experiences, it changes you. It actually starts moving through your body and reorganizing everything. And you can only get to that place and state, this new way of being, this up leveled, this cracked open to the full taste and texture of life, when you start to build your sensational capacity. And I believe that this is what this does. So, I got really passionate and fiery there, and I'm really down for it. I love it when I go on these little sensational rants. So, that is what I want to say about that. That this is a space where you can show up and play, and then you can move into kinkier spaces that you want to explore, to move through something that has actually hurt you. So for me personally, and this is why I love a bit of degradation and humiliation, because for me personally, and it's quite interesting, right? Because I believe that we get our kinks from our family. Like that is proven now. That is out there. Those statistics are out there. I can't remember what the statistics were, but we actually get, and it's we get our kinks from our family dynamics, from our parents. They're passed down to us. And we also get our kinks from our wounding. So we attract people oftentimes, if we're not very conscious and illuminated to our own relational aspects within self, we do attract people that activate these parts of our wounding. And that shows up heavily in the kink world. This shows up heavily with people we're exploring erotically with. And I think kink can be the portal to move through this in a way instead of running away from it. Like you got to go to the ache, you got to go to the pain. So for me personally, I was very bullied as a child as well. I've spoken about this before. I have been degraded quite a lot and humiliated and abused by family figures, family, parents, siblings. It was rough. It was rough out in these streets. And I can sit with that ache and that wounding and repeat these things that they would say to me in my head. Like I could repeat, like, oh, you're a slut. Oh, you're fat. Oh, you're this, you're a piece of shit. Oh, that one is such a good one. I remember being called that a lot. And I can have these woundings within me that actually get super activated and triggered when people reflect them back to me and like activate them within myself, because I believe that our triggers and our activation points within ourselves come from within, but the experiences on the outside highlight that. And if we haven't gone to the deep dives of our inner being, we will never see them. So I could sit there and play the victim to these woundings, or I can say, no, fuck that. I am going to reclaim that. And that is what I do. This is why I don't get icky or have shame or really much judgment or conditioning about anything these days, especially when it comes to sexuality and myself. And that it shows up with the people I work with. They can feel that level of embodiment and that actual conviction of everything is welcome here, because I've claimed that within myself. I have sat with these pieces and parts and used them and moved them through my body till they weren't like a sensational ache and ick in my body, right? Like, so if you can think of right now something that used to you got called, or probably perhaps still do, you're a loser, you're this, you're a slut, you're a piece of shit, you're like whatever toxic thing you can think of. And when you say it, and I guarantee your head is probably, and your inner critic is constantly looping that to you anyway, and you're going to war with yourself. I can bet that if you can sit with these words and process them and move through them somatically and erotically, get somebody to call you that until you move through the pain, like go all the way through the pain till it doesn't feel like there's a knife in your gut, or your guts are being ripped out, or your heart's being ripped out, and it feels like this. I feels like an energetic pull on your system, and you actually start to eroticize it and move with it, and then bring it into your sexuality and your eroticism, because that is the purest essence of your being, until it becomes liberation. And this is the art of alchemy, guys. Like, this is it. And this is why I love therapeutic kink so much. So claiming the filthiest, disgusting thing that people have called you that actually is a ache and a sensational pull on your system, and becoming so intimate with it that you get off on the pleasure of it. Oh my God, right? Like you strip away that, oh, that's horrible, that's evil, that hurts in your system, and you sit with the sensation and the ache until you really just sit with the actual obliteration of the sensation and the uncomfort in your body. And you bring pleasure into that, right? You dance with the pleasure and pain, baby. You bring that pleasure in, you weave it in your body, and you're like, oh, yeah, it feels so good. I'm such a piece of shit. Oh, yeah, it's so good. I'm such a dirty slut. Like, oh, yes, like I love this so much. Like, I am such a whore for attention. Like, use those words, use that energy, and reclaim it so you can stop being pulled and triggered to external factors without you. So you can stop feeling so much shame and conditioning and collapsing and turning inwards and not give a fuck about what anyone says or thinks about you, right? Like when you come to the actual deepest element, like these tendrils of pain within you, and you fucking use them to catalyze yourself into a fucking badass that does not give a fuck, or has actually, you become so sensual and so sexual and so in your body that it doesn't matter. It's water off a duck's back, so they say, right? Like life is just too precious to sit here and be too precious about it, if that makes sense. And I'm coming in with a lot of fire today. I love it. We deserve joy and happiness and play. And honestly, if you're just going to keep being a victim to your own circumstances that you keep repeating, like you will forever be condemned to a life in your own internal hell. It's pretty much as clear as it gets. So actually, like using these pain points and these wound points and these childhood woundings to catalyze your next era, your next embodiment of power. Oof, the world needs more of that. Like I am so tired, and I'm sure you are too, of seeing people that are just dying to be chosen and have this energy of wanting to be chosen and desiring to be picked and to be liked. It's because they haven't picked themselves. It's because they haven't liked themselves, and they still are not showing up and choosing themselves. And all of these pieces, these intricate, delicious, yummy pieces that are within them, they haven't shown up. They haven't held them. They haven't got intimate with them. They haven't got relational with them. And it shows up in the energy they spew out onto everyone else around you. Let me tell you. I'm clicking my fingers here. I'm getting into it. So side quest number 107 for today's podcast, talking about how you can use these aspects to really claim these parts of yourself. Even the praise kink. Praise is, I love a bit of praise kink. Oh, I'm all over. I love everything, like I said. But praise, like being told you're a good girl, you've done a good job, like all of these yummy, yummy pieces is so healing and soothing to our system sometimes if we were degraded a lot, if we were talked down to a lot, if we didn't get a lot of praise. Or it can be too far as well. Like we could feel a very deep, beautiful connection with being praised because we were praised a lot growing up. You know, there's never one pathway to this, and there's never one right way. Like it can be like a sense of wounding and pain, and it can be a sense of like pleasure and power, and they can both coexist at the same time. So this is why I think it's really important to understand the energetics and move through like power, surrender, the elements of the wheel of consent. What does it feel like to take in your body for your pleasure only? Then what does it feel like in your body to actually allow somebody to just take from you for their own pleasure, right? And that is edgy for somebody who has experienced sexual assault, sexual trauma, medical trauma and abuse, because to allow somebody to take from you just for their pleasure has you've probably seen in the past that it's traumatic, it's painful. But to move into these safe spaces is a way to get your body out of like numbness, freeze, shut down, fawn, and to open yourself up to a flavor of being that we are all capable of. Like, we are all capable of taking just for our own pleasure, right? And it can be beautiful to allow that, to find the pleasure in somebody else's pleasure. Hot, 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 right? And to take with only your pleasure in mind, knowing that it is a gift from the person who is allowing that. So, 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 so yummy. And then on the other hand, what does it feel like then to give? Again, another element, like to give not for you, but for the person in front of you's pleasure, like being so devoted to the person in front of you and that you are with, that you are giving for their only own pleasure, right? And then what does it feel like in your body to actually truly receive that? To receive that. Like, I know so many women who actually struggle so hard with receiving, and you can't have a powerful orgasm or amazing pleasure or have an incredible like sense of self and being deserving and worthy if you don't receive. Like, let somebody do something for you and receive it fully. It's like the number one bane of my existence in my world. But it takes time, right? Like, these are muscles we're learning and tending to. And this is what I mean. It's like stretching out into these different ways of being and these different comforts and not comfort sensational experiences, and allowing them to move through you and alchemize through you naturally. I say this time and time again. In when we're talking about the soma and the psyche, we can only go as fast or as far as our wounded pieces allow us, like our slowest traumatized pieces. So we can't just catapult into like full reclamation of our power and move into, like, it has to be a slow titration, right? Learning, stretching, growing until you're fully safe, inner safety. I'm not talking external safety. I'm talking about the inner structure of safety and trust within self, that you can hold this power without collapse. You can receive without pushing away. You can move through these elements. And this is why I love therapeutic kink for this work. So I hope that's a little bit more helpful on how we can work with these things, claiming these pieces and parts, right? There is an element. Let's get into my how do we use this? How do we use this somatically? And I'm going to share some like pretty deep woundings of mine. And yeah, I'm just here for it. I'm laying it out. So I was at Embodied Eros Festival. Oh, look at me getting into my sultry, sexy storytime voice instead of my powerful, authoritative, commanding voice. So let's go back a bit. So I have been working with this piece and part of myself somatically in my body for a little while. It popped up and it is so common. It is so common, and I'm going to name it and I'm going to put it out there because it's really common into my clients, but they're so petrified of going there and naming the thing. And it's something that I have too. So let's get it out. A few years ago, when I first started training in this sort of field of work, I think not a few years ago, it was like 10 years ago now. I learnt, maybe 8. Anyway, logistics. Time is weird. That doesn't make sense to me. I got in touch with this inner part of myself. So I do a lot of parts work and gestalt therapy, and, working on the neuroscience with that and creating new neurological pathways is my jam. So I was doing like a coaching swap with somebody else, and this is when we were learning, and I came across this big piece and part of me that actually truly wants to die. And it's really interesting because I feel like it's flipped over time. I believe that a lot of people who have experienced child sexual abuse actually experiences a part of them that wants to die and feels disgust in the body. It's something that I work through quite a lot. And it takes time to get to that piece and part of you because it's such a huge, dark, sensational piece, right? Like it's actually a piece of you that I believe is like protection and sadness and grief for your childhood innocence that was actually taken away from you. So I found this piece within me that, yeah, wants to die. And it's funny too, because I find that a lot of people, when we're working with these pieces, there's a lot of pieces within us that are actually afraid to die. So when we're up leveling and moving through and embodying new ways of being and getting in touch with our sexuality, parts and pieces of us technically have to die off. And I'm putting that in quotes. And it's usually these like traumatized, wounded aspects of self that have created these like protection mechanisms around themselves, and the protection mechanisms have to die off, but they have become and formed a part of your identity. So you see these pieces in self that actually are petrified of dying and clinging to the body, the soma and the psyche, so intensely and won't let go. And also you can have these big pieces of self that actually truly just wants to die. And I found this piece and part of me inside me. And it was a really daunting experience to be like, wow, because we don't talk about this stuff. We don't talk about actual like suicidal is it ideologies or tendencies? And I would never do that at this point in time in my life. And I have experienced wanting to do that for sure and trying to do that. But it was weird because, yeah, it was huge. And it took me a lot of like Gestalt therapy, parts work to actually sort of integrate this in my being. And this past year, I would say, I've only just sort of named it and found it. I've been working a lot on myself, like moving through heartbreak, grief, etc., but also just becoming a new woman. Like who I am now is so vastly different to who I was 6 months ago that I'm like, whoa, intense. And there was this, I call it the little gremlin, right? So this gremlin part of me actually is quite chaotic, and it comes out and it wants to experience death. It actually wants to be obliterated and the full sensational experience of wanting to die. Like it's a sensational, hungry little babe. And she's a little gremlin, and she will come out and I wasn't conscious and aware of it. This is what I want to really lay out. It's like it's just like I had this overwhelming sensation to be chaotic and have these experiences that actually put me in a lot of danger. While I was traveling around, I did some stupid things that I actually did nearly, have some very traumatic experiences nearly because I put myself into situations that were dangerous or unhealthy, and people took advantage of me and violated me or did things without my consent. And I was like, what in the actual fuck? Didn't understand what was going on. Was working with my coach around my business. And it turns out, because I am really, really getting in touch with my power at the moment, I've been doing a lot of like power work. There's a part of me that is still terrified of my own power and claiming it and stepping into a new woman, a woman that is, boundaried and strong. And, like even this podcast, like blowing up on this podcast, like I could never imagine in my wildest days. And I'm like, do I have capacity to hold all of that? So I'm claiming this new me, like I'm shedding all these old parts of me. And there's this sensationally active part of me that really wants to die. It's been showing up. So on Saturday, when I was at the Embodied Eros Festival, I moved through my 2 workshops. I moved into this space of yumminess. I was there. We did some games, and then I could feel, because it was funny because I worked on this piece and part of me that week. So it became conscious, right? For the first time, I was like, wow, there is a part of me that desires and this is the kicker, my guys. There is a part of me that desires aliveness and eros so much that it is willing to go to the extreme of full sensational, like wanting to die, to feel alive and to feel Eros. Oh, mind blowing. Anyway, I could feel the gremlin coming up, and I said I wanted to I wanted to do a scene. So we were doing these little playful exercises in the temple. I was like on a bench, like I was getting spanked and like my hair caressed by these two beautiful women. It was just really nice. And then I felt the gremlin come up, and I was like, this gremlin wants to be punished. It wants to be abused. And it's funny too, because, right, like you can sit here and go, wow, like you want to be abused. You were abused in your childhood and you actually want the sensational of experience of being abused. Yes. And this is what I'm saying is so therapeutic about it. Because when you make the unconscious conscious and you work with it in such an intimate, delicious, safe space, you have the power to move through it. So I sat with a Dom, and I was like, because I was like, I just want, there was this pull within me, like, I want to be absolutely obliterated. I said, I want a full scene. I want you to hurt me, and I want you to go all the way there. And we sat down and we spoke. I said, how deep do you want to go? And he's like, deep, baby. And so I'm like, okay, let me share this piece. Because I was saying I had no boundaries. There is a part of me that wants to actually completely let go and have absolutely no boundaries and submit so intensely that I'm cracked the fuck open. Like I said, cathartic, sensational releases are my jam. That's what I love. So I sat down and we did the normal foundational talk. What do you want? What do you want to create? What's a yes? What's a no? And, you know, he's like chains, whips, paddles, claws, like bear claws. Are you okay with biting? Are you okay? He did a couple of my workshops. So I wanted to say he kind of got a flavor for who I was and what I was like. So I was a very safe sub for him to play out this scene. And he had trust in me and I had trust in him. And yeah, I said, look, I don't have, I said, I want bruises. Like, I want you to absolutely hurt me. And then I put a little swing in the mix and told him, I brought this piece to him and I said, look, I found this little gremlin, like this sensationally hungry little gremlin, and I want to bring it into the space. And he's like, sure, no worries. And so with that intention in mind, and it was full filth. I've never done anything like that before in my entire life, I will say. But I fed the monster, so to speak, right? And it's so funny because I won't walk you through the whole scene, even though this entire podcast has been, I feel, pretty X-rated with my swear words and what I've been delving into. I will share, he held me so good. He did all the things. So as you can see, I set the scene. I told him what I wanted to move through, what was happening for me. I wanted to bring this piece with me to the space, this piece that wants to be degraded, that wants sensation, that wants to be stretched open, that wants to absolutely get this sensational thrill. Bring it to the altar, right? Literally bring it to the altar and worship it at the temple of my body. So that's what we did. He pulled out all of the things. There was all of the tools. And I will tell you, I don't even know how long I was in that scene for. He flogged the shit out of me with lots of things. I don't even know what happened because I just had this like really transcendent, like out of body, inner body alchemy experience. I was like on the bench and this was in front of the entire Embodied Eros. So the temple. And so, you know, he's like, do you have like a humiliation thing? Do you expeditionism? And I was like, yeah, just go for it. Just go for it. I'm very good with communication. I will tell you if something's not right. I'm a very vocal person. I've unlocked my voice a lot, and you can tell by my tones and energy. I'm very easy to read, I believe. I don't know. Some people can't read me, but I was like, you'll know. So he does the things. He says the filth. He humiliates me, degrades me, flogs me, punches me, like bends me over, does all these things. And it was the most powerful experience because I consciously brought this little gremlin that desired that craved that yearned for that had been hiding in the crevices of my soul. And I didn't know was there and was causing me to lash out in these toxic ways and these places that were like actually could have caused me to die because I wasn't thinking straight. I got to show up and not only witness it myself and give it the space to be witnessed and held lovingly, may I say, lovingly, beautiful, and carefully. Like he curated the space, kept checking in, seeing how I was, where my pain was. And, you know, really, it's just this beautiful, like, even though you communicate, it's like this code, like you're tracking somebody's body, you're tracking the way they're moving and their understanding. And oh man, it was so profound because I was witnessed by everybody in the temple as well. So it was like this part of me that I was judging and I was ashamed of and afraid of. I actually got to put it up on the altar, and everybody else also got to not only hold me, and like you could feel their hearts like pouring open of like just witnessing me. Like there was no judgment, there was no shame. And I believe that is the way that we reclaim these like parts and pieces of ourselves that have been condemned to the darkness, so to speak. It's like we're bringing them out to the light. They're being seen, they're being witnessed, like lovingly, no judgment, no shame. And that is enough to absolutely transmute it, right? Because when I tell you that after this experience, I had some aftercare. So we spoke about the aftercare process after that. Like, what do I need when I come down? And, you know, I was like, I love words of affirmation. I love being told like how good I did and, you know, reflecting back. And I also like being hugged and like a blanket wrapped around me because I get really cold. And I, you know, having my hair stroked, like actually be treated like I love being treated like that. And I'm not saying I get treated like that very often, but this was just a very once off sort of not once off, but it was a beautiful experience. And then being babied, I love being like, I love it all. Just like tend to me and love me and then look after me. And it was powerful having that aftercare and that reassurance after such a beautiful experience. And for me, I believe that this is foundational for any erotic sexual experience where you're cracking open your heart. For me personally, I always crack open my heart and I feel very vulnerable and tender after any eros sexual energy moves through me. Yeah, and I really need to be a bit more firm about that because I feel so tender and raw when that's not met, and they leave, or I feel and I have to like hold myself, which I can, but it doesn't feel very nice. So anyway, he does this, and then I move through a massive sub drop afterwards. The next day I was processing, I was feeling a bit tender, I was feeling a bit raw, I was feeling like I was awful, or, you know, like all of these little bits and pieces, because what goes up must come down, what goes high must drop. So I had a sub drop and moved through it and tended to myself. I think that I was just like a baby here for a bit, just like looking after my body, eating treats, watching things, and tended to myself. And my ass was absolutely purple, black, and blue and beaten up. But I was proud of it. I was actually like, I'm like one of those people, I love like little marks. Like, I'm like, yes, okay. And I agreed to that too, because you can always agree and consent can be stripped and taken away at moment to moment, just so you know. And, you know, we use the traffic light system and this, that, and the other. But what I really want to highlight with that experience is from that, just being in that space, being held, being seen, being witnessed, being heard, allowing it the full penetration and sensational experience of being hurt and having pain, and moving through that, like with my body, with my breath, with my sound, like going into a meditative state consciously with that. This little gremlin has completely subsided from my being. And that's not to say forever, for permanently, but for now. And I don't even know how, you know, just setting that intention. I do know how because I hold these spaces, but it just baffles me each and every time that you can bring something up, create a scene to actually be devotional to this part and piece of your psyche, your soma, your spirit, and allow it to just move through the portal of what it needs to, the catharsis, the sensation, the pleasure, the whatever it may be. Let it be fed instead of being so starving and hungry that it is literally trying to pull it from wherever it can get it from. Let it be fed and satiated and let it dissolve naturally. And that is it. That is it. So I haven't had this little gremlin pop up and want to be like, want to die and want to create these experiences, these full sensational experiences, because I got intimate with it. I had a relationship with it. I moved through my process with it and allowed it to do what it needed to do. And then it just automatically dissolves. And I think that people really can't grasp how easy this can sometimes be. When we're getting into this work, people get afraid that they're going to have to dredge up. Like, I don't know where that gremlin come from. Yes, maybe it could have come from being abused as a child. Yes, maybe it could have come from being raped or whatever. Like, who gives a fuck? Let's stop giving it a narrative and a story and continually feeding it and making it bigger and grow. Get away the mental fucking smog and actually get into the grit of feeling it, right? Feeling it. This is what we're missing. And so I felt it. I moved through it. I moved through the portal of this. And yeah, I haven't wanted to do anything like that or feel that sensational experience since. And I know this piece and part of me might be a little wounded, traumatized piece of me that I will always carry. And bringing it into a space that is healthy and conscious and like therapeutic, where it can be seen and held and loved and cherished devotionally, instead of inflicting my own wounding back at me from the world around me, I think that is absolutely powerful and not spoken about enough. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Ooh, it feels so yum to share that with you all, to let you into this very private aspect of myself and let you into a bit of a story of, yeah, how I work through this. Because when I was trying to relate to somebody, how do you even work through something like this? You know, like if you have a kink, right? Like if you have like a daddy daughter kink, right? Would you prefer to be not owning that kink or letting that kink sort of move through you, not knowing, being unconscious of it, and then actually calling that in around you by like calling in these like wounded archetypes of men that are you're calling in and playing out this mummy daughter dynamic that's you're constantly repeating in your relationships, in your sex life, and in the world? Or would you prefer to cut the crap, get down into it, play it out in the most intimate, safe, beautiful, devotional space you can? Get really like erotic, find the pleasure in it to allow it to be seen and witnessed, transmuted and alchemized, and to show up a different way. I don't know about you, but I would much prefer to go all the way to the wound and the ache and rub my honey balm all through it, find the eroticism and the pleasure in it, find the kink and the delicious stretch in the uncomfort of that, and then get the fuck over it and move on with my life and be the best version of myself and be the person I know I am without lugging these things around with the added layers of shame and judgment that keep you locked up, tight, and not wild and free and, yeah, like just who you're meant to be in the world. Wow, I don't know how long I have been talking for, but I feel like this has naturally come to a close. So, when you sit with this after this, like this might be really big for you, this might be edgy for you, it might be really raw. I would love for you to write down some of your kinks, right? Some of your taboo ones, some of your edgy ones, and then also some of the ones you maybe know about. Like, write a list. Dissect them a little bit. What are they trying to show you? Where are they leading you? Where are they directing you? What part of you has not claimed your power? What part of you hasn't claimed your receivership, your submissive, like opening to life and letting life move through you? Sit with that all, digest it, and let me know how it lands. As always, I love connecting with you. DM me, comment, share it with a friend, save it, create, you know, conversations about this. It needs to be talked about more often. If you have any questions or want to digest or get into this deeper, just reach out, message me on Instagram. As you know where to find me. I'm everywhere at the moment at Sheeana Leigh or at Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. And yeah, as always, if you want to support my work and you wish to shout me a coffee, I will put the link down below. You can buy me a coffee and sort of donate so I can keep getting this work out there, keeping getting voice and momentum out there. And also I have the free pleasure codes ebook that you can download. I'll share that link below as well. Now, where I am segueing this to, my loves, is I am really moving through a place of not digesting, but actually gestating a modality, my own modality in regards to this exact alchemy process and this exact somatic experience of becoming like honey from your own aches and wounds. So keep an eye out. That's coming out in the new year and very, very soon. But until next time, I love you guys. You guys have been so awesome. Thank you so much for your support and for showing up for me all year as I've been showing up for you. And yeah, creating a beautiful community of, baddies that want to alchemize their shit, which I'm down for. All right, see you next time. Bye.